Okay, so this right here is the R36 Plus. This is the R36 Ultra. This is the R36S, and this is the R36 Max. We're gonna be comparing all four of them to see what is the actual difference and which one you should buy. All right, so right here we have the R36 Plus, the R36 Ultra, the R36S, and the R36 Max. And we're gonna be comparing every single model to see which one you should actually get and which is the best. All right, let's do this. We're gonna unbox all four of them real quick, and then we'll get into all the other details about it. So, opening this one. All right, tape. So this is the difference in the actual boxes. As you can see, they are pretty different, and that's because I'm pretty sure they come from several different sellers. They all kind of use the R36 name, but I'm pretty sure they're all slightly different. But let's open this up right here. Okay, we got the R36 Plus. All right, this is what we get. Just a little foam pad and a charging cable. It says it has Wi-Fi right there. Okay, that off. So there's our R36 Plus. Now we have the R36 Ultra. Same thing. Okay, similar aesthetic, but slightly different. Then we just have a cable in the box as well. Then we have the R36S. This one is also in the white color with a cable in there. Okay, and then finally we have the R36 Max. And this one comes in actually a carrying case, where the other two did not have a carrying case that came with them. So we have this nice little padded carrying case, as you can see right here. And we're gonna unzip this. Okay, we get a cable right here, a screen protector, and then the actual thing itself. And this one is in the blue color. All right, power them all on. Here we go. All right, R36S, R36 Ultra, R36 Plus, and the R36 Max. Okay, so as you can see, they all have slightly different boot up screens, but let's get into the actual hardware differences of all of them, and I can show you the kind of the differences. All right, so looking at the backs of all of the consoles right here, as you can see, the smallest one right here is the R36S, and as you can see, it's like probably almost like a half an inch smaller than the rest of the consoles. One thing I want to point out is the actual structure of the back. So we all have the same buttons, 4 buttons on the back. Looks like the Max is a little more ergonomic, and it has these little like butt cheeks on it, basically. I don't really know how to explain that, but this thing is double cheeked up. Hey man, I'm just saying how I see it, you know what I'm saying? As you can see on these three, it has these batteries that you can actually pull out. So you can pop out this top port and you can actually get access to the battery, and you can pull this thing out and unplug it and even replace it. So as you can see right here, this is a 3,500 milliamp hour battery, and we actually get the labels right here. So these two have the exact same battery at 3,500 milliamp hours. This one has 3,200 milliamp hours, which is the Plus. So it means it has a little bit smaller battery. And then this one actually has a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. So having a much larger battery than the rest of them, and this one having the smallest battery. Now it does look like on the R36 Ultra, we're getting some speakers on the back as well, where we don't have speakers on the back on any of the other ones. When it comes to the bottom, we all do have this port setup where we have 2 USB-C ports and a headphone jack. And basically what this means is one of these is to charge your actual device, and the other one is to plug in like an adapter so you can plug in a controller. So these all have old games, and you can basically get an adapter and plug in the controller of the old game and play it on the console, which is pretty sweet, I'm not gonna lie. And so each of them have a cable like this. One is called direct current, DC. The other one is OTG, which I actually don't know what OTG means, but that's what it does. And the way that these consoles work is they have this TF card, which is basically like an SD card that has all of the games loaded on there. So if you were to unplug this, all the games would disappear. And so each of them has one of the cards right here, but some of them actually do have double ports. So the R36S has double ports on both sides, where the R36 Ultra does not have double ports, only has one, so you couldn't add additional games. And then also these other two, the R36 Max and the R36 Plus, also do have double TF cards, so you can add other games as well. If you download them off the internet, you can install more games. So when it comes to the actual battery life of the consoles, the R36S, because it has that smaller display and it has a reasonably sized battery, which is like in the mid-range, it can get 7 hours of gameplay, which is pretty decent. And then we have the Plus, that one gets the lowest. Since it has the smallest battery, it only gets 4 hours of gameplay. Then the other two can get around 6 hours of gameplay, having those bigger screens, but the medium-sized batteries. And my guess is this one can get a little bit longer just because it has that 4,000 milliamp hour battery, maybe giving another 1 to 2 hours of gameplay, depending on which variant of the Max that you get. When it comes to the actual construction of all the buttons, they're all pretty much the same. They kind of have that same format of, they have the buttons on the right, and then they have the 2 joysticks on the bottom, and then they have the cross button arrow pad right here, and then they have 3 buttons right here in the middle. Some of the consoles do have a different layout for the actual buttons. As you can see, this one is up right here, and they're kind of in a different direction, but they all kind of do the exact same thing. This one even has a soccer ball one, and it has a little mini soccer field right there for the speakers, which is kind of cool, I guess. When it comes to the actual buttons, it feels like some of them have cheaper feeling buttons. These ones on the Plus, they definitely feel like they're the most secure. They don't wiggle around. And the ones that feel the least secure are on the R36 Max. Like, you can totally hear them just wiggling around, and that's just because they're not as secure in there, and that's kind of most of the buttons. The main one that's wiggling is this actual soccer button right in the middle. But on these other three, so this one's definitely the best, but these two are probably in second place, and this one's just the worst when it comes to the actual button quality. I'd definitely say the R36 Plus has the best buttons, both on the front and also on the back. Like, listen to this, they're just so satisfying. They kind of just have a more tactile feel, where these ones feel good as well, but they're a little more high pitched. And these ones are also, these are pretty similar to the Ultra. And the worst ones are definitely on the Max. They just they rattle, and they're kind of not as satisfying as the rest of them. All right, so looking at all four of them right in front of us, as you can see, we're starting to notice some actual differences between the actual devices. Looks like this one has a smaller display than these three. These all seem kind of the exact same. Some of them look like they have a little bit bigger bezels, but I think the actual display is exactly the same. This has a 3.5-inch IPS display, and these all have 4-inch IPS displays. So the resolution for these ones is 720p, where this one is 480p. So a little bit lower resolution, but that is also factored in by the smaller display. It can't fit as many pixels, but I mean, they all look pretty good from looking at it just with my eyes right here. Like, you can't really see pixels. Like, they're pretty high resolution from what you can tell. Like, it looks pretty good from what you're looking at right there. I will note that aesthetically, I do like the white color a lot, and I actually really like the way that this Ultra looks. We have these glowing RGB around the knobs right here, and the whole actual aesthetic of it just kind of looks really cool, whereas the other ones kind of look a little more basic. So as you can see, it looks pretty sick, not gonna lie. On the sides, as you can see, we have all the TF card spots, and then we also have the volume rocker. It's basically the same for all of them, slightly different orientation. Going to the other side, we have the power button and the reset button. Basically, the reset, some of the games you can't exactly escape very well, so you just have to hit the reset button. So we have the reset buttons right here, and then the power button. It's basically the same construction. Some of them look different, some of them are black, some of them are white. This one is just like dark blue, but they all basically do the exact same thing. Now, for size comparison, this is my iPhone 15 Pro Max. This is how big the actual consoles are. And so these ones are just about the exact same size as my phone, just a little bit thicker, as you can see right there. Similar right here, and similar again right here. Okay, so I've been clicking through the interface, and I do think my favorite interfaces are from these two. They both, like, as you can see, like, go through the games and it like changes with it, but I think my favorite is definitely the R36S. It just looks super clean. Like, look at this. We're changing the background. Like, it looks really clean. Okay, moving on. All right, so the R36S has a processor called the Rockchip RK3326, and this thing was released around 2018, and the chip became a gold standard for budget retro handhelds. It has a quad-core ARM Cortex A35. The graphics is a Mali G31 MP2. It's highly optimized for Linux-based firmware, and it handles most retro consoles up to the PlayStation 1 perfectly, but it struggles more on demanding like the N64 Dreamcast and the PSP games. It's the best for like older games and ones that don't require that additional power. Then for this one, we have the all-winner A133P, and this is an enhanced version of the standard A33, often found in cheap tablets and some newer budget handhelds. This is a quad-core ARM Cortex A53 chip, and it has a Power VR GE830 graphics. And then the performance, while the A53 cores are technically more powerful than the RX3360s, the GPU is often bottlenecked here. It's designed more for Android tablets. Then we have this one, and this one can depend on which variant you get, but it can be the RK3566, and this one is a successor to this chip, and it has a quad-core ARM Cortex A55 with the graphics of a Mali G52, and the chip is roughly almost 2 times more powerful than this one, and it can handle N64, Dreamcast, and most PSP games with ease, and it also supports more RAM and faster storage. So actually quite a big upgrade on this one. And then the last one is the best processor by far, and this one is on the R36 Max. There's a reason it has that Max name, and it's the H series from Allwinner, and is specifically designed for home entertainment. So it has a quad-core ARM Cortex A53, which is similar to these other ones, and it has a Mali G31 MP2 graphics. And the performance, its strength lies in the hardware video decoding, and it supports 4K 60 frames per second at HDR10, making it superior for streaming but mediocre for gaming compared to the RK3566. So you can stream this and play out at 4K 60 60 on like a bigger screen because this does not support 4K, but the actual performance is not quite as good as this one, which has the new upgraded performance, which is twice as good as this one. Each of them does have 1 GB of RAM to play the games, which should be sufficient because most of these games are pretty small and they're made to build on much more chill. Okay, so when it comes to the actual storage of the devices, they're all dependent on this TF card. They all have about like almost 16 gigabytes of internal storage to run the operating system, and then the rest is just on the games on the TF card. So it just depends on how big the TF card is that you have and the one that you bought. So they range anywhere from like 32 to 128 gigabytes of storage on the TF card. The ones we have right here, I'm pretty sure are 64 and 128, and that will also factor in with how many games you can have on there and are preloaded is how big storage you have. Okay, so it looks like these three have the ability to connect to Wi-Fi. I've been trying to connect them to my hotspot to see if this will actually work, and I have not been able to even have it read that I have my hotspot on. I have my Wi-Fi. So honestly, at the end of the day, is a lot of these games are not really supported anyway. So if you were trying to play them online, it's kind of a lost cause because like a lot of them don't even have like servers going on anymore. But on this one, I could not find a Wi-Fi setting. This is for the R36 Plus. These ones do have Wi-Fi settings, but I couldn't figure out how to get in them. So if you guys can figure out how to connect it, that's great. I honestly couldn't figure out. There's several different settings you have to like connect through it manually, which seems kind of a nightmare because what are you even gonna do with it in the reality? If you know what you're gonna do with it, great, good for you. But I don't know what the frick I'm gonna do with this. I guess the only case I can see where the Wi-Fi connection could be useful, and if you can figure out how to get it to work, is if you want to download more games from the console itself. But if not, I would just pop out the TF card and plug that into your computer and download more games from the internet, because if not, it's just too much of a hassle. It'd be way easier just to do that, and I don't recommend having to navigate through this interface to do all of that. Like imagine just having to freaking type in a website on this thing. That would be a nightmare. But when it comes to the actual games that come installed, I'm gonna tell you on the R36S, we have 35,000 games. As you can see right there, there are 35,000 games on the R36S for you to play. Now I can't guarantee that every single one will work, and probably every single one won't work, but a lot of them probably will. On the R36 Ultra, we have 21,000 games, which is also a ton of games, but not quite 35,000. On the R36 Plus, we have also 21,000 games, which is pretty good. And then the R36 Max actually has the least amount of games with 18,000 games. So the R36 Ultra or the R36S winning at this, but it still does have that smaller screen, so that is something you need to take into account. But the interface does look super duper clean. One thing there is to note is that on the listings, they don't mention, they kind of just have a range of how many games it has, which obviously is a little bit concerning, but this is like a third-party console and it's to be expected. But just know that this one generally will have more games if you want more of those games to play. Now there is still 18,000 on the lowest one. That's more games than you're probably ever going to play in your entire life, is the reality of it. And so at this point, it's just more of a flexing number because they probably all have most of the same games, and this one probably has more that just don't work in reality. So, and the different aspect ratio probably allows you to play a couple more games, which would make sense as well. All right, so we have all the consoles right in front of us. There's no way to test all of the games. There's literally just thousands of them. We're going to test a game right here and see if it runs smoother and how fast it actually loads on each of the consoles, because that'll be an indicator on how well it runs. We're going to be running the Star Wars game and see how well it loads. If you guys want to know all the games that each of these have on here, I'll leave it linked in the description, a full document that explains all the games it has. Okay, let's do this. All right, DS games, Nintendo DS, Nintendo DS. Okay, so each of them, luckily each of them do have this game that we're looking for. Ready, get set, go. All right, here we go. Now we're gonna see which one loads into the game the quickest. All right, LucasArts. All right, I think these two were definitely the quickest. This is the slowest, and this was the second fastest. All right, so these ones have like boot up screens where this one doesn't have a boot up screen. Let's see what this looks like. Start. Oh, so you can either be Obi-Wan or Anakin. Start. All right, we got all of them going at once. These ones have this weird bezel, not gonna lie. I'm not sure what's going on here. This one is super cropped, and I think this one should be full screen if it will ever load. It's not gonna lie, it's not loading as fast as these ones. These ones are not having any problems. This one is having problems. Now this will all vary game per game. Oh, here we go. I'm playing. Oh, freak, it's a Jedi, or not a Jedi. It's a clanker. Die. Yeah, get killed. Let's go. Die, clankers. Yeah. Oh, get cooked. Get absolutely cooked.
Push that button.
Oh, L2?
Oh, that's it.
Or L1?
It's the button on the left.
Oh, L1 to block. Yeah, get out of here, slime. Okay, so this one's actually, I do like this form factor. As you can see, it's running the game in a different form factor, which this one is cropped, this one is cropped, this one is kind of more the same, but it has a controller on the bottom. So I don't know if that'll be the same for every game, but it is actually much better to be able to play on a little bit bigger screen. It does make kind of a big difference, but now I actually know how to play. Die, clinker! Boom. Okay, so when it comes to the game ability, all the games will be different, and that's just because they're all built for different consoles. So depending on the aspect ratio, depending on all the different things about the console, the button structure will depend on how it actually looks on your screen. So as you can see right here, this one looks a little bit odd and cropped because it was built for the PlayStation, or built for a DS, where these were also built for the DS, and so they end up being a little bit different in the software, but every game will basically be different, and which is actually an interesting part. One thing I did notice is I did like how the R36S had a little more of a horizontal view, and so it worked better for the DS, but that's not true for everything. So there will be more square type of games that will fit these screens better. So it just kind of depends on what type of games you want to play. And then when it comes to the actual performance, I think they'll all play the games pretty well because they're not huge games. It's not like they're playing huge games on servers and all these things, but the ones that do have better processors will probably perform better on bigger games if you're trying to play bigger games. But most of the games you'll be playing on here will be smaller games, and it won't be a huge deal, I'd say. All right, so when it comes to the actual price comparison, all right, so we bought the R36S right here for $36. If you want to check out the link, it's in the description, but this one was $36. We got the R36 Plus, which is this one, for $60, and so quite a bit more than the R36S, and I'll link all of them down below if you want to check them. Okay, then the R36 Max right here, this one was $40, and then this one right here, the Ultra, was $56 when we bought it. So just like $30 to $60 is kind of the general price for all of the consoles. They all have slightly different variations. Some of them have different benefits, the other ones don't. Then they also have different drawbacks on their respective consoles, but overall the actual gaming experience is very similar on all of them. All right, so after reviewing these for the last little bit, I've come to the conclusion that the two I would like, if I were trying to decide which I wanted to buy, I would be debating between these two. This is the R36 Ultra. It has the RGB, has a bigger display, has a decent processor, and the battery's good, has a ton of games as well, but it does cost the most. But overall, it's probably my top console right here. But in second place, I have the R36S. This is a little bit smaller form factor, but because of that, a lot of the games do work pretty well on it, especially the newer ones like the DS ones. And the battery's not quite as good and the processing is not quite as good, but it does cost the cheapest of all of them, coming at like $35. So in the end, the playability between all of the three is pretty much the same. If you're trying to debate which one to get and you're really worried about the processing power, I'd go for the Ultra. But if not, like, this one is the cheapest, I definitely recommend that. I mean, they're all gonna work basically the same. At this point, you just want to make sure you get enough games on there, and they list all the games on the listing. So at the end of the day, I think I'm gonna recommend the Ultra, and then this one in second place. Anyways, if you have questions, leave them in the comments. I'd love to answer them.